What if everything you've been told about milk and diabetes is backwards? Not slightly off, not outdated, backwards. For years, people with type 2 diabetes have been told the same tired advice: switch to low fat, watch your portions, maybe try almond milk because it sounds healthy. But here's the part nobody talks about. The milk aisle is hiding something. A choice sitting quietly on the shelf, surrounded by flashy labels and health claims that almost nobody picks for the right reason. And the irony? It's not the trendy one. It's not the expensive one. It's the one most people walk past without a second glance. Because here's the truth. Not all milks affect your blood sugar the same way. Not even close. Some spike it fast, some barely touch it. And one does something the others don't even attempt. But to understand why, you have to first unlearn something. Something almost everyone believes about milk and sugar that simply isn't true. Most people assume the danger in milk comes from sugar content alone. Check the label, see the grams, judge accordingly. Simple, right? Except blood sugar doesn't work like a spreadsheet. It works like a chain reaction, and the real question isn't just how much sugar is in this, it's how fast does that sugar hit your bloodstream, and what's traveling alongside it when it does. That single distinction changes everything. It's the difference between a slow, manageable rise in blood glucose and a sharp spike that forces your body into overdrive, pushing out more insulin again and again, day after day, until eventually the system that's supposed to protect you starts to wear down, and that wearing down. That's the real story of type 2 diabetes progression. Not one bad day, not one sugary drink, a pattern. Repeated, almost invisible, happening in the background of ordinary choices like the milk you pour into your coffee every single morning. So here's where it gets interesting. If sugar content alone isn't the full picture, then something else must be doing the heavy lifting. Something that determines whether a glass of milk causes a slow, steady release of energy or a fast surge that your body has to scramble to control, and that something has a name most people have heard but never actually understood: the glycemic response. Here's the twist: milk on its own generally has a fairly low glycemic index. That part isn't the secret. The secret is in what happens when milk is paired with or replaced by alternatives that seem healthier on the surface but behave completely differently once they're inside you. Because some plant-based milks, despite their clean green marketing, are mostly water and starch. Almost no protein, almost no fat. Which means when that liquid hits your stomach, there's nothing to slow it down, nothing to create resistance. It moves through fast, and so does the sugar that comes with it, even if the label says unsweetened. But here's what most people don't realize. The opposite is also true. There's a type of milk, one specific type, that behaves in almost the exact opposite way. Not because of marketing, not because of a trendy ingredient, but because of its actual composition. Protein, fat, structure. The kind of thing that doesn't make headlines, but makes a measurable difference inside your body, meal after meal, for years. And this is where the story shifts from what to avoid to what to actively choose. Because once you understand what's happening at the level of digestion, what's slowing things down, what's speeding things up, you start to see the milk aisle completely differently. It stops being a wall of similar-looking cartons. It becomes a map, some choices quietly working against you, one choice quietly working for you. And the difference isn't visible on the front of the package. It's hidden in the nutrition panel, in numbers most people skip past without a second thought. So let's slow down for a moment, because before we get to the what, there's a why that matters more, and it has to do with something called insulin resistance. If you've been told you're pre-diabetic or living with type 2 diabetes, you've probably heard this term before. But here's what's rarely explained clearly. Insulin resistance isn't really about insulin failing. It's about your cells slowly stopping their listening. Insulin shows up, knocks on the door, says let the glucose in, and over time, with repeated overexposure to sharp glucose spikes, your cells start ignoring the knock, not all. At once, gradually, quietly. Until your pancreas has to shout louder and louder, producing more and more insulin just to get the same response it used to get with less. And every time you consume something that causes a sharp glucose spike, you're essentially asking your cells to answer that door one more time. Most of the time they still do. But here's the part that should make you pause. The frequency of those spikes matters just as much as their size. A small spike repeated constantly, day after day, cup after cup, that's a slow erosion. And one of the most repeated, most habitual things people consume daily is milk. In coffee, in cereal, in smoothies, in tea. Multiple times a day, often without thinking. Which means whatever milk you're choosing isn't just a single decision. It's a decision you're making, often unconsciously, dozens of times a week, and small decisions, repeated enough times, stop being small. So now the question becomes sharper. Not is this milk healthy in some vague general sense, but specifically, does this milk consumed regularly contribute to those glucose spikes, or does it help prevent them? And here's where the layers start peeling back, because dairy milk, regular cow's milk, actually performs better on this front than most people expect. It contains both protein and fat, which slow gastric emptying, meaning the sugars it does contain enter your bloodstream more gradually. But, and this is important, dairy milk also comes with its own complications: saturated fat content, potential effects on cholesterol, for some people, inflammatory responses. So while it's not the villain it's sometimes painted as in blood sugar terms specifically, it's also not the full answer. Then there's the world of plant-based milks, and this is where things get genuinely surprising. Almond milk, often seen as the diabetic-friendly choice because of its low calorie count and minimal carbs, has almost nothing in it, which sounds like a good thing. Until you realize that almost nothing also means almost no protein, almost no fat, nothing to create that slow, controlled digestion. It's not that almond milk spikes your blood sugar dramatically on its own. It's that it offers your body no support system, no buffer, just water with a flavor. Oat milk, on the other hand, has gained massive popularity. But here's the part that rarely makes it into the marketing. Oat milk, by its very nature, contains more naturally occurring carbohydrates than most other plant milks, because oats themselves are a starch-based grain. Some oat milks are specifically processed in ways that can increase the speed at which those carbohydrates convert to sugar in your body. Which means a drink that feels wholesome and grain-based might actually be working against the exact thing you're trying to manage. So if dairy has trade-offs, almond offers no support, and oat carries hidden carbohydrate concerns, what's left? This is the point where most explanations either give up or default to just drink water. Which, while not wrong, isn't exactly the revelation you were promised. But here's the twist. There's one type of milk that sits at an intersection almost nobody talks about. It has the protein structure to slow digestion similar to dairy, in some ways even more complete. It has a naturally low glycemic index. And it comes from a plant source, meaning it avoids some of the saturated fat concerns associated with dairy. It's been sitting in grocery stores for decades, often overlooked, often associated with outdated stereotypes about taste or texture that no longer apply to modern versions of it. And the moment you understand why its specific composition matters, not just what's in it, but how those components interact once they're inside your digestive system, you start to see why this one choice keeps showing up again and again in conversations about blood sugar stability.